Right. Morning, everybody, and welcome to Global Intelligence Institute. I always get that wrong somewhere along the line. Last week we had quite a nice session on your personality, your brand personalities, which is always an interesting one because we often forget. We build something and we just get into this rut of chasing that hamster wheel and we forget what we're building and what the perceptions are that your clients and other people are seeing. So if you haven't had a listen to it, go and have a listen. Claire, I did send it through to you. Sorry, I thought it was part of the video, but I think it's just the audio that they've shared. So last week, Karen did an exercise using ChatGPT, which I thought was super clever. And I don't know whether sorry, you've taken the time to actually go and do it yourself, where you ask ChatGPT or one of the AIs to go and have a look at your brand online, your personal brand and your business brand, and to come back with what they are seeing you as, what brand personality they're seeing you as. So I know that she's not online today, but she can listen to the recording later. So what I did, a further exercise. So both of hers, personal and business, came up with the sage and the caregiver, those two personalities. Um, and so what I did was I went and put it into ChatGPT and I said, so if I'm either of those or both of those, what is my clients expecting from me from a product point of view? Because, we often think about ourselves and like we've already spoken about what layers of products you should have, etc. But if you have a certain personality and a certain perception in the marketplace, what are they now expecting from me? And it was very interesting to hear that there were things like insight led services. So people want deep understanding from a sage, from personality, the brand personality of a sage. They want to know more. They don't just want surface level. So they want to know from her in that, like the mediation sessions that they have, what is the structure? And can I come out with clarity? What is the conflict diagnostic tools that you use? What is a stakeholder mapping? Can you see that the words that are now being generated from this is a little bit different from possibly what she's using? I'm not 100% sure. But basically, what they ask in that insight-led services is, don't solve the problem for me. Rather, let me think differently. So give me the tools to think and use them differently. The other thing is the framework and methodologies is like a signature mediation framework, communication models for difficult conversations. So there's very specific stuff that's coming out of it now. Sage clients love systems. They want to make complexity into a simple solution for themselves. The third area was an education-based products. So rather give me master classes on conflict, and then I can go and solve it myself. Corporate training programs, workshops on how to navigate difficult communications. Can you see how it's changing? It's like morphing more into like another layer of knowledge that needs to be shared. And ultimately, what will come from it is thought leadership. So she can develop a whole thought leadership content program. She can then put them onto retainers. She can have a whole lot of diagnostic tools. And ultimately, what they're looking at is they're looking at her for that next layer of knowledge. So really take some time and go and play with this a little bit, because I think it's really important for you to understand the expectation from your clients and stakeholders in the industry. And it also helps the speakers understand what is expected from you when you're standing on stage. So when you're talking about something, whatever your theme is, what are they expecting from you ultimately at the end? Because you can stand on stage for 45 minutes, an hour and talk, but then what do they want to walk away with? So can you share a tool, a diagnostic tool, a masterclass? What else can you upsell to them? Because that's really what they're looking at. So I just wanted to carry on that discussion that we had last week, because I did get a lot of emails afterwards to say, what about this and how about that? And so there's a lot of things that come from your brand personality. So please be vigilant and go and have a look and go and see. No worries, Bill. I see your message. I hope you can hear us fine. So I'm going to continue this conversation a little bit more, and I want to show you, if I'm talking about a brand, what does that really mean? So let's see if I can get my screen sharing right, but maybe not to start with. Just give me 2 seconds. When you look at, people talk about a brand or a business, and most of the time we're not really sure what we're talking about. And that's really what I want you to push the boundaries a little bit more about now. Okay, so when we look at a brand, we're not just looking at your logo anymore. We're looking at way more than what that is. So a brand starts with what your strategy is in your business. And that's where your personality is. So you've got to decide, what do you want people to understand about you and your business specifically? Then it comes into things like your story and your identity. So now you start splitting it a little bit. Your story then is all about your vision and your mission and your marketing. Your identity is more about your logo and your collateral. Can you see how it starts filtering down? So your vision, mission, your voice, your marketing all goes into press, into advertising and social media. And can you please notice that social media is only one aspect and not the entirety, because that's where we often get wrong. We just assume that if we put some posts on social media that we've done, but it's not. Social media is one area, but from social media, it's what is your content and what is the engagement. If you're not getting engagement, your content is not right for your audience. What are you doing from an advertising point of view? Because we can't only just do marketing. So are you doing online or offline marketing? And advertising? What about a charity aspect? Do you have? In South Africa, most corporates work with 1% of their profit towards charity, which is a really nice metric to use, because if you're not making profit, you can't have charity. So you need to start looking at, what is your percentage of your profit that sits there. And that includes your time. Time is part of that 1% profit when you get to charity. Then on the identity side, it's your logo and your collateral, and that can be from business cards and stationery and letterheads and pamphlets and whatever kind of collateral you have. And logo goes into your website, your social media, your SEO, your emails, your blogs, everything that you write on. Does that make sense? So branding is a bigger picture than just a social media post. And that all comes back to what your personality is and what it is that you build in. So, and as we saw last week, sometimes we build a brand, but we don't get the personality right, or we don't get what we really want the perception to be right. And then you have to really start looking at it again. So any questions when it comes to really thinking about where you sit with your branding right now? Or are you all clear? You're all like spot on. Your branding is like waiting for everybody to see it.
Can I jump in?
Of course.
Yeah, so we did follow last week, and actually doing this exercise actually with our four brands actually today, and we're just finishing this morning. I've been up since 5 just to finish that presentation, so I'd love to share it with you later on, Diane. But it's actually, once you've got it into a visual, and maybe it's because I'm very, very visual as well, it's a lot easier to understand how your brand interlink with everything else. And then it's that consistency, I think, in your message, that you need to be very consistent. That clarity, then the consistency, and how do you pass that message through? I think that's the difficulty sometimes we have between, oh yes, that looks really pretty, but actually putting it into action and making sure that people, you understand it, but people who look at it understand it. And I think that's sometimes, for me, it's one of my biggest things, because I've got all shiny balls and seeing all that, and I think that's really cool. And then somebody will look at it and say, what does that really mean? So we need to test it as well sometimes and make sure that all the people understand, and your message is really through.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that becomes so important because there is lots of bright, shiny objects out there. There is all this excitement. And as entrepreneurs and business owners, we look for something new and different and exciting and whatever. But, the boring businesses are the ones that are making money. I just want to put it out there and say that sometimes we have to take a step back from the shiny, bright objects. And if you want to make money, it's about consistency. So if you're looking at things like your collateral, so even things like your newsletter, your email signature, any pamphlets that you create, is your logo consistently on the right side of the page, like where you want it? Is it in the same spot every single time? Because if you're changing directions of where your logo is going to be, you're confusing people. So it's really, really comes down to detail. And I'm not a detail person at all. So this is for me the hardest thing to do is to get it right, because I want it to look nice rather than to be consistent. But the moment you start changing where you place things, you also confuse people, so it really comes down to that minuscule part of the detail now. So you've all built beautiful brands. You've all got speaking moments. You've all got beautiful opportunities now. But now start really looking and digging really, really deep into those details. Okay. Any other questions before I continue? We all fine. So from last week now, if you think about what we spoke about last week, we were really looking at how can you get yourself out there? What is the language of influence that you can have? And that's really your brand. So that's how we started this whole process, going down a rabbit hole, which has been very interesting for a lot of people. But now let's take it one step further. So if you've got your brand, you know what brand personality is. You've got all your collateral in place. You know where you want to market and where you want to advertise, because those are two different things. What do we really need to understand now? So we're going to recap just a touch of a lot of what Claire just said. Clarity is really important because that creates your positioning and your visibility. But there is a marketing myth out there. You just need to do a whole lot of stuff and then it will be fine. And that's not true. You need to be consistent in what you do, but you need to do the right marketing. You need to have the right branding collateral. Otherwise, you're going to start out positioning yourself. So then people are going to get confused again and we create chaos. And it's easy to create chaos in businesses. Language now becomes your superpower. So if you think about what your brand personality is, what the expectation is from your clients, your words that you use is actually your collateral. It starts building an asset for you. And this is what we need to remember, because your clients, and that's why your clients need to be so specific, expect you to say X. So you all know I don't work with startup businesses. I work with business owners that have been in business for a while. Why? Because people that start off in business won't understand some of the terminology that I use. And I also don't work with corporates because I don't understand half of their terminology, and their terminology changes on a daily basis. So if you're not in the corporate space, you're going to miss out. So I sit in the middle. So if I use the incorrect words, my clients in the middle wouldn't understand what I'm saying. So the moment I talk about scalability, somebody will turn to me and say, no, Diane, that's not right. Because scalability is more for corporates, whereas business growth is more in the middle. So can you see how words now become really powerful? So standing on stage, writing social media posts, doing articles, putting articles into newspapers and to magazines, you've got to make sure that you are speaking to the right audience. The audience that pays you is the audience, and that you get them to start making strategic decisions. So this is where you can start influencing your audience. So if you're looking at a magazine, for example, what is the intention for your article should be the first thing. Is the intention for your brand to get known, or is your intention for you to upsell something within your article? So you've always got to have an intention behind what you do. Then you've got to know who's going to be reading it, and always speak to who your client is, the person that's paying you, or the person that you want to pay you. And then you want to drive them into a way that they make a certain decision, a strategic decision. So for me, it would be about, how are you thinking in business? At the moment, there's a lot of people talking about it's been a hard year. So I want to change that narrative. Why is it a hard year? Let's unpack this slowly. Is it because the first quarter of every year is a hard quarter because we're getting into the flow of the year? We're trying to understand what the new trends are. We haven't done enough research prior, etc. So if you start looking at it, you can start unpacking things in a different way. And that the influence would be to now flip it on its head and start adding a positive spin to it. So that would be the influence that I would want out of an article, or online, or on radio, or standing on stage, etc. So what is the specific thing that you want to influence your clients to do when you write something? Is the question that you need to keep asking yourself. And are you doing that when you do a social media post? Are you doing that when you write an article? Are you doing that when you're standing on stage, etc.? And then, why are people not buying from you? So do you have enough leads coming in, would be the first question. And then, is it just because you are confusing them? So if you've got clients coming in, they're already interested in what you do and what you're saying, but is that message that you're giving them unclear? Or is it just that you haven't given them a call to action? Because that's often what we do to ourselves. When we post something, when we write articles, etc., we never then say to them, okay, but you can work with me, because now they're listening to you. We never give them a call to action, like email me, go and put your name on my database and get a free ebook, or whatever you've got and whatever your process is. So remember, we spoke about the different layers of the pyramid of your product offering that you've got. Each layer is also expecting you to use different language, because if you're going to do a free option, which is, part of your charity work, free, just remember that word, free, charity, it's not business, then there you're wanting to attract your ideal client in some form. The next level is where you want to start building credibility. And then you start really selling is the next layer. So there you want to now start talking about transformation. What have you done in the past? Have you worked with clients? What have you achieved for them or on their behalf? Then how do you get into that premium space, etc.? So each level, the way you put the words together needs to start changing, because you start attracting the client to climb the ladder with you, to go on that journey with you. So your words would start changing along the way. So really make sure that you have 3 levels of content, whether it's social media, whether it's in newspapers, whether it's full advertising, it doesn't matter. But you need to have something that shows your authority or talks about your authority. You need to have something that's relatable to your clientele. And then you need to have something that's a conversion. So something like that's a call to action. So I learned when I did a speaker course, care, believe, know, do. And that was not with Mike and Landy. It was with another group in South Africa, a global group, which was amazing. But for me, that was a very simple formula to use. Care, get your audience to care about what you're about to say. So you need to start relating to them almost instantaneously. Get them to believe in you. So that's where your authority comes. Get them to believe, believe, know. Now, what do you want them to know? So give them information, some form of information. And then what do you want them to do? Do you want them to buy something from you? Do you want them to jump on a call for you? Do you want them to refer somebody to you? So you've got to have those four continuously looping in everything that you do. Does that make sense? So when you're looking at words, make sure that you know which level of product offering you're talking about, and then have those four at least part of it. Questions? You're all very quiet again.
So, Diane, so just getting back to what I was speaking about before, in terms of the audience that I'll be talking to.
Yeah.
So, I was thinking about your kind of experience and your focus, where you're talking to the people in the middle, not the startups, not the corporates. Now, I'll be straddling the two. Do I need to choose one and focus on that? Because I can also see a confusing message coming out
Absolutely.
if I don't target it in the right way, because there will be corporates there, and there will be let's call them mid-tier contractors who are privately owned and don't operate in a corporate way.
So who out of those two groups would pay you money to do something else afterwards?
Both.
No. Who will pay you money? Who will pay you the most amount of money with no hassle, no influence on
probably the corporates, the mid-tier guys will, they focused on putting their money in the actual doing, whereas corporates are more interested in building their teams to deliver what they want for their shareholders.
So that answers your questions. Always focus on the person that's going to pay you money, but the most amount of money, because you are going to pick up other people along the way. But whoever is, and my philosophy is always, who's going to pay you the most money in the shortest period of time and use the least amount of your time. And that's whoever that is, that's who you focus on, because you don't want the person phoning you at midnight and hounding you as well. So it needs to be the easy client almost, because that's who you're talking to, because that's where you can pick up great business from.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
May I ask something?
Yeah, of course.
From my point of view, I'm at a stage in life where I'm actually kind of winding it down. I find I'm targeting clients that give me the most amount of enjoyment, still pay me very, very well, work in exactly the area where it just flows through me. And, I could earn a lot more if I worked a lot harder, but then that's not the point. So, there are obviously other criteria other than just the money if you're up to going and getting them. And I'm just wondering with Gavin, because some of this is around perhaps framing. Maybe there are people in that mid-tier that desperately want to be corporate. So it could be that there is a level there that you could find that other people are not in. Everybody's going, I'm either corporate or I'm mid-tier, but you could be that person that makes mid-tier into corporate, in which case you can, from a branding point of view, find quite a nice unique niche that allows you to be different. So just some thoughts.
Yeah, thank you for that. The other side of the coin, which has just come to mind as well, is the interaction. I'm talking about the whole industry as a whole, but it's more on the formalized side of industry. So it's the construction of infrastructure, but I'll be straddling government as well. And, trying to get the two minds to meet is a challenge in the best of times. But it's about positioning it so that I'm almost out of the industry, but in the industry.
100%. So you also want to be known as the thought leader. So you're going to be talking as a thought leader, but you need to target it at one of the audiences. And I think that's the important side, because all of the government is going to want to hear something different to the corporate, to the mid-tier. So you need to look and see which one you want to target it at. But ultimately, they all need to walk away and think, wow, first of all, he's pushing the way that I'm thinking. Secondly, he has a point about the following things. That's what you want them to remember.
Yeah.
And then you want other people to buy from you. Because, I mean, you are starting a business, so it's important for you to generate an income.
Yeah, sure.
Nice.
Thank you.
Sure.
I also have a question. The care, believe, know, do structure. Can I use that for like videos to attract people? Because I was thinking of being like, there's people with whom you can work easily and you don't even have to finish a sentence and it works really well. And then there are the annoying ones that always ask questions and they're against what you're saying.
Always.
And then I go into, my name is Valerie, I'm a leadership communication coach, and I will now tell you why you should actually listen to the people that are annoying, and then continue from there.
100%. A video is the most amazing tool. I have a video. I don't allow anybody to introduce me most of the time on stage or anywhere, because first of all, they say my name wrong, or they get the information incorrect, or they say she's a coach and I'm not a coach, because that means that I've got to be empathetic and I'm not. So it's those kind of things that you've got to get right when you're wanting to be in front of people. So I have a video, I play it, and the moment I walk onto stage, I have the attention immediately. So a video is such an amazing tool, Valerie. Over the weekend, I went and sat with Ridwan. He's one of the Circle of Excellence clients as well, and he had a full day conference. It was such a fascinating conference because we were all at tables of 10, and at my table, a number of people came and we sat, didn't know anybody. And the woman says, "Oh, I don't know how I'm going to be here the whole day. He can't teach me anything. I know everything." And Ridwan came on and we were there for the whole day. And this lady walked out. She says, "I don't want to go home anymore. I've learned so much," which was such a nice feeling to know, that he's got knowledge. But the biggest downfall for him on the day, and I've told his PA, I haven't had a chance to have a conversation with him, was that he never positioned himself correctly when he walked onto stage. Because it took an hour and a half of the day for people to warm up to him. So a video or an MC, but an MC for a short period of time would have been exceptional, would have just lifted his level of authority, or a video would have just lifted his level of authority to say, "I really know what I'm talking about. This is why you need to listen to me." So really getting the audience's attention from the get-go, because it was like almost like pulling teeth to start with. But once they started and got into it, then it was like, then they couldn't keep everybody quiet. So we do miss out that immediate impact. And that if you position yourself correctly, you will get that. So yeah, now videos are exceptional. Nice. Okay, so let's finish off. I see where we are. So please remember your content, okay? There has to be the different levels. So talking about what you know, so that's really authority content. So it's in your lane, in your industry, to your audience is important, okay? That is really authority. And that is super important. People need to know that you're competent, that you have authority in this, that you've got experience, etc. So that's what they're looking for from that. And then content of this is what you feel, that's relatable content. So that's really about, I see you, I understand their struggles. However, can we look at it from this point of view? Have you considered the following? Here are 5 points to get out of that feeling, that mindset. So there are challenges. There will always be challenges. There will always be vulnerabilities. But sharing real moments become super important. So I often talk about clients that we had during COVID, with the time that everybody was struggling. Every single one of my clients grew during 2020. And it was simply because we were online, we were working together, we were looking for the opportunity. So it's consistency again behind it. And it's really beautiful because I have now amazing stats of 10x in businesses, doubling turnovers, etc., during one of the hardest times around. So, and that's what people want to hear. So if you've done it in the hard times, surely you can help me now in other times. And then conversion content is really about answering questions that your clients, so those questions, Valerie, that you spoke about, you can answer them already before they even asked, physically asked. You can be talking about them. You can start telling them, well, I can actually help you with the following. Have you considered the following when you are going to ask me the next question? You know, these are often frequently asked questions, but I'd like to talk to you about it from my viewpoint, etc. And this is how I can help you. So it's very important to answer questions that your clients are going to have for you in some form of content that people can see, okay, she knows what she's talking about. She can actually help me. Now let's sign up. So shifting our language becomes important as we say, I can offer you the following, but I will ensure that I 10x your business is two different things. So you've got to understand where your clients are coming from. So they've often heard, I've got this to offer you, buy this from me. But they are starting to hear now different people saying, I will help you. I can guarantee this. I have references for, and that changes the perception of a lot of your clients. So it's all about the wording again. Wording is really important right now. And then the psychology behind your buyer is they need to be understood. So they need to feel that you understanding them. They need to feel that you totally get their problem. They need to have certainty that there's confidence in your solution. So that's why everybody on the Circle of Excellence, when you work with Lundy and you do your blueprint, that helps the certainty, okay? It really shows that there's a scientific process that you've gone through, or even if you do infographics. An infographic says step 1, step 2, step 3. People can then think scientific process, etc. becomes important. So that helps you build a solution that really works, or showcases a solution that works. And then they want to feel safe. They want to be assured that they've chosen the right direction. And sometimes you can't help it. If they're not going to do the work, then they're not going to feel safe. And sometimes they need to move on. But most of the time, if you get these 3 things right, you then gain your client, and you can often move these clients into retainers going forward. So your visibility formula, if you're building content on social media and LinkedIn, which is one of the big drivers at the moment for business, the 3, the authority, the story, and your offer, which is the same things as what we've spoken about. Those are really nice because it shows people that there's a consistency behind what you're doing. But what we often do wrong, we assume that our audience know what to do next. We assume that they're going to get in contact with us or message us. But if you don't give them an email address, or you don't give them a link in how to contact you, or where to buy a product from, or how to sign you up as a speaker, or etc., then how are they ever going to do it? So it becomes important for you to show them, click here. And it's normally one click to somewhere. And that's an easier customer journey. There's not a lot of obstacles in the way. There's not blockages in the way. You want it to be easy. Leave your money here, pay here, sign me up, book my date, etc. But you've got to be clear what you want them to do. So some soft call to actions is when you're engaging with your audience and you're asking them what's your biggest challenge, or save this for later because you know you're going to need it. Whereas a direct call to action is book your call today, DM me when you're ready, click the link to join, etc. So what is it that your clients, and remember, it's all going back to your brand personality, is what is the perception of your brand, therefore what is the expectation from it? because a lot of brands, and if Karen only had the caregiver as her brand, that would be soft approaches. But because she's got Sage and caregiver, then she needs to be more direct. So just a final thought is, if your brand gets seen, your language gets you paid. Make sense? What questions? There has to be some questions. Now, what do you need to know before I move you into numbers? Yes, Valerie.
How can I easily find out who is sitting opposite of me? Because like I do know throughout the meeting what type of personality they are, but is there like a trick you have that I can find out right from the beginning?
So there, as a personal brand, yes, I can send that to you.
Cool.
There is tricks, and it's from their appearance. So you can pinpoint very quickly, but it would be very general, obviously. You know, there are certain people that are completely put together. Their hair's not out of place. You know that those are detailed people. The people that come in and put their stuff down on a table and move and make themselves bigger, you know that they are the authority figures and they demand the power, and they're going to talk that way. So there's a lot of little moments. So I can put together a worksheet and send it through to you. It's quite interesting actually when you start looking at it. Yeah.
Is that NLP, or where does that theory come from that you're talking about right now?
So it's very much like first impressions of a person. So a lot of neuroscience has gone in behind it, and it's a lot of body language that gets used behind, that's linked to personality types. But I mean, there's lots of personality types, and there's lots of different systems that you can go on and go and learn. I'm just going to give you a very high level because that's not, I think that if you just know, are they detail? So are they going to ask you numbers? Because that's really what it is, details, or the numbers, or the finite detail of stuff. That's important. Who's the person in the room that's the authority person? So you know that they're going to come across very powerful. They're going to almost like keep going at you like this with questions until, you know, you break almost, until you become more authoritarian than what they are. Then there's the person that's the comedian inside the room, and normally you see their hairs like all over, their clothes are like half off and half on, and you know that they are there just for the ride. So there's little things like that that you look at, but I'll send you through a worksheet. Sure. Any other questions? So when we're looking at anything online, it's really nice to keep using one of your AIs to go and question, have I done this correctly? Is it still part of my personality? Am I attracting the right person? I mean, we have the most amazing tools now. You must use them. But once we built the brand, once we built that brand personality, we started to share a whole lot of stuff on social media. We're using different other forms of marketing and advertising. How do we know that it's working? And how much money have you put aside for it? So my philosophy is I have one spreadsheet, okay? And on my one spreadsheet, I want to see what my turnover needs to be. So per month, what my turnover needs to be. But then I need to bring it down to units. Okay, because then I can see how many clients I need to gain per month. So whether I'm standing on stage or whether I'm working with clients individually, you bring it down to units. So if I suddenly go from 10 clients per month to jump to 100 clients the next month, you know there needs to be something dramatically changing from a marketing perspective. Because you're not going to jump from this to 10x unless you've done something specific. So in your spreadsheet per month, what are you doing? Is it just social media? Are you attending expos? When are you traveling? Who are those major meetings that you're having? And you need to list it underneath per month so that you can start tracking what it is that you're doing. And then each one needs to have an ROI. How much money did you spend on it? And what did you gain from it? And that's all on one spreadsheet. Okay, so you can see whether, does social media really work for me? Am I spending all this amount of time writing these articles, etc., and I'm getting nothing back from it? Or is that part of visibility, which often, and let me put it out there, is going to be your visibility. So people watch. They want to see consistency. They want to see what you're talking about. They don't often comment, and very few purchase at that point. Because remember, every single one of your clients needs to see you 7 times. So whether they see you 7 times on the same platform or whether they see you somewhere else, it becomes super important now for you. So you need to start tracking. So you need to track what are you going to be doing in the month, okay, from getting your brand out there, and then what has happened, which one of them has worked, and you will start understanding that there's a common thread because your clientele will dictate to you what you should be doing. So is it that you need to be having 3 referrals, 3 coffee meetings a week, in-person discussions, or is it that you can just put it on social media? And that's important. That's for you now to work out because your client, your brand, it all dictates what you should be doing and where you should be doing it. We know the more AI comes into play, the more the human needs interaction. Okay, so keep remembering that. Gaining new clients right now is people want coffee dates or they want meetings, they want in person. But with the way that the gas and petrol and diesel prices are going, that's going to become very rare to secure. Because with the wars going on, the prices are changing, you're going to start seeing less and less of that. So if you can be the anomaly of it, you'll gain clients quicker. So the moment you change direction to the rest of everybody, that's when you pick up your clients. Does that make sense? Okay, so in-person events are important. People want to see you. They want to touch you. They want to give you hugs. They want to laugh with you. They want to have conversations. It's really important. Social media is for consistency. People just want to see what you're doing. They want to stalk you. They want to know that you're out and about. They want to know that you're meeting the right people, etc. And then obviously there's being on radio, being in magazines, being in newspapers in certain places, becoming important because that then sends you to the next level of thought leader. So Gavin, right now, you need to get into some of the construction magazines. You should be writing articles about some of the areas that you might be talking about going forward. Yeah. And all the development releases that they have, your brand should be around there. People should see that you either supporting them or not. It doesn't matter, but you should be around. Oh. Right, questions, everybody. What does your brand look like? Are you marketing it correctly? Is your client's expectations being fulfilled? Is your bank account full?
I'm currently working on the blueprint. So the thing I usually did so far was that I was reactive. So I would never be like, this is what I'm doing. I would rather be like, what do you need? And that worked really well because they usually always needed something if they already talked to me, which was great if I got referrals, because then I would just, reactively do what they wanted. But it was really hard to communicate what I'm doing to other people because I'm like, I do what you want. And so I'm turning this, and right now I'm developing this blueprint where I'm actually just summarizing everything I've done for all the other clients, which they really liked. And I think that will help me to position myself a lot better. And I also came up with a really good graphic that we're playing around with, that kind of like goes through the entire thing. And yeah, it's developing, so it's not ready yet. So I won't share it like Claire will, but I will share it. I hopefully in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And then I would love to have some feedback.
Awesome. Fantastic. Well done. I think, we underestimate what the blueprint can do for us. It's such a conversation starter because from that, you can still ask the question, what can I do for you? But you can showcase, this is what I've done. This is how I've done it. This is the process that I use. And that elevates you already to the next level. And often, Valerie, some of the things that you've already done for people, most of the other people need. So it stops you from reinventing the wheel every time, and it gives you back time, because if every single client came to you every time and said, this is what I need, and then you had to start a whole new program or develop a whole new thing, it's very time consuming. Whereas now you've got all of those in place already. So it's easy to sell them now, or it's easier to sell them now rather. And you can always add to it along the way, but try and use what you currently have, which will save you time from building new. Yeah, fantastic. And also in that, once you've designed your blueprint, do a couple of infographics. So if you're looking at your blueprint and there's certain areas of your blueprint or certain programs within your blueprint, take them out and then do a couple of infographics, because that's also a great conversation starter. People want to know, what are you going to do? How are you going to do it with me? How long is it going to take? How many steps are there? What is the outcome, etc.? And that's really nice on a infographic. Okay, nice one. Very cool. Anybody else with any other questions that we've got? So your homework, isn't that nice? Your homework is to go back and have a look at the brand personalities. Which one do you want to have the perception from your clients? Go and check and see whether it actually is happening from an AI perspective. What do they believe? And you can ask your clients too. You've got clients, so you can ask them, what do you believe that I am, if they understand that. Then have a look and see, well, if it's that brand personality, what is the expectation from an offering point of view? What are they really expecting me to offer them now? So as we saw with the example of Karen, it's next level stuff that she needs to offer. She can't just come in and say, I'm going to mediate for you. She can have a whole bouquet of offerings, okay? And then from there, look at your total brand collateral, everything within the brand. What have you done? How's the consistency with it? What needs to be tweaked now? And then where are you going to put your brand? That your clients can see it, that you can then start gaining new clients and the right clients. And what does that consistency look like? And now, what is the language that you're going to use when you write whatever, articles, social media, magazine posts, etc.? And then breaking it down into numbers. So now this is what I want to do. This is what my turnover is going to be. This is how many clients I actually need in a month. What am I going to do to gain those clients from a marketing or an advertising perspective? And then at the end of each month, going back to say, what is my ROI for each one of those? Which one has worked for me? Which one hasn't worked for me? And as we change in the year, you'll start seeing how that is going to start morphing into different ways. So remember, we need to be seen in the marketplace before we can sell. So your clients will normally see you 7 times before they sign up with you. Right. If there's no more questions, then go off and be fabulous, as always.
Thank you. A lot of thought to go into this.
Fantastic. Well, everybody have a fantastic week. I hope those that in Cape Town are we seeing you on Thursday with Lundy's insight into the nature and patterns. Sorry for everybody else that's not in Cape Town. You can't be here. But we'll share information with you as we go. I'm really excited for that. And we'll see you on the flip side. So go and enjoy your brand. Be well. Go make
Cheers,
money.
well.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.